What's up, YouTube? So recently I got an amazing question on my Patreon community. Seems like Jeff Wilson have been talking about the soccer card market. He's a huge influencer on the card space, and I want to know his perspective about our market and react to that, and also share my points, my view in his opinion. That said, if in the end you are enjoying this video, consider to leave a like. Really means a lot to me and is the best way to show support. If you are a new viewer, also consider to subscribe. Just two more things, but I will be quite quick. This video actually is from a Q&A I do on Wednesday on Patreon, so if you like this type of content, joining the Patreon will be super important, and you also support the channel. And another thing is our community in Discord have more than 1,000 members at this point, totally free to join, link also below the video, and I hope to see you there. Let's put all of that out of the way, let's go into the video, and I hope you have fun. Let's start with the question number one, and the question number one goes this way. In Jeff Wilson's newest video, he talks about soccer from minute 4 to 8, in case you haven't seen it. If you watch it, just curious about your thoughts, or can you talk about it on Patreon? So that's basically what I'm doing right now. I may even put this video, this question basically on YouTube, so if you are watching on YouTube, do not forget to leave a like. But this is an amazing topic to try to bring some critical thinking, to try to push some debate. But let's start with the obvious thing, playing the take of Jeff Wilson. If you already saw the take, you can skip this part. If not, pay attention, because we'll talk about this in a deep way, I would say. So let's play it. It's 4 minutes, but I think it's actually quite enjoyable.
For this reason, I've started placing a lot more emphasis on football cards in my collecting. And we'll talk about some of that. And I'm still buying certainly the other sports as well, but I'm placing more emphasis on football. I am also placing some emphasis on soccer. And I continue to believe that if you look 30 years out into the future, that soccer card collecting in this country is going to be way multiples of what it is today. Now, we've actually seen the soccer card market go down quite a bit over the last year to 2 years. Yeah. And there was a lot of people saying a couple of years ago, like, oh, soccer's the next big thing. And so in 2020 and 2021, you actually saw soccer rise faster than any of the other sports in terms of prices and people buying the cards and everything. We've also now seen it fall backwards at a pace that in some cases has eclipsed the other sports as well, because I think people, realized there was just a lot of hype that was driving the market then. And while soccer, I think a lot of people would say, yeah, I agree that soccer makes a good long-term bet, but they're not willing to wait long-term. Most people are not willing to buy a card and actually sit on it for 20 years to see if they're right. Yeah. They want to buy a card. And so if you're doing a more short-term activity, then we haven't seen a lot in the soccer card market the last 12 to 24 months that would indicate that that's a great place to be doing short-term activity, because most prices have slid back. I still maintain that if you want to buy absolutely key cards today and then believe that those, like, what's going to maximize your value 20 or 30 years from now, I still think some of the early Messi cards, I've been scooping some of these up recently. I just bought his 2006 World Cup Panini PSA 10. Beautiful card, by the way. I got to show it to you. And the Germany World Cup that year, really low population, low price. I mean, if that same card existed in any of the other major U.S. sports, it would probably be 10x what it is in soccer. I really want to get his 2004 Mega Cracks PSA 10. I would love to get that. I've got the Autografo. I've got some of the other variants of that, but I'm kind of building a little Messi collection. I'm not going to go super deep with soccer, but my thoughts with soccer are early Messi, early Pele, which I know you've been on for a couple of years, Maradona, Ronaldo, Mbappe. If you want to take a risk on a newer guy, maybe Haaland. I guess Mbappe is a newer guy as well, but he's already more established on the international scene with the World Cup appearances and whatnot. I think, to me, all of those names are going to be really relevant in the card collecting world, 30 years down the road.
I think you're hitting on something really important with soccer, which I believe in strongly right now, and that is focus on the best players. We say that about a lot of sports, but soccer in particular, fans tend to be club loyal or national team loyal or both.
Okay, so I think that's enough to be honest. I know the clip goes a bit longer, but to be fair to the points I want to bring to the table, I think that's more then enough. I recommend you guys to check the podcast. I think Jeff Wilson does a great job there. I know he gets a lot of hate on social media. Look, it is what it is. Some things I agree, some things I disagree. That said, let's take a look at the key points. So, in general, I think Jeff Wilson's opinion is valid and presents an optimistic view that I also tend to share. So, in the past, I was critical of Jeff Wilson, to be honest. For example, recently with the Pokemon versus Disney stuff, I thought that was a bit crazy. But this one, I actually tend to agree. I think it tends to be quite in line with what I also believe. The growth of our market has undoubtedly been incredible. And of course, we are also experiencing a correction right now similar to other markets. No matter if you are picking F1, basketball, or even a TCG, at this point everything is going down. Or in a macro perspective, you can make an argument that we are facing a bear market across the entire card market. However, we are not the market that grew the most, nor the market that crashed the most. Of course, there will always be statistics/data to prove various points of view, and maybe Jeff Wilson actually have data that proves his point of view. Trying to look in a macro perspective for the soccer card market, I don't think we are the ones crashing the most or the ones that actually end up growing the most. I believe that vintage, pre-modern and even modern key cards, key issues are still fairly strong at this point. American sports in general seem more affected than us. So this will be the point. I actually tend to disagree with him quite a lot, but in general I actually agree that soccer is amazing long run. I believe that our market is still in a very early stage, also in a discovery phase, so that's difficult to navigate, not gonna lie. With that comes risk, a lot of risk, but also a lot of opportunity. So that's the amazing thing about our market, and I strongly believe in this. If you put time in the market and not trying to time the market, but if you put time, you probably can find opportunity. Something that I thought was quite funny to see is you end up talking about this card, the Messi 2006 PSA 10. Beautiful card, I tend to agree with that. I think it's an important card for Lionel Messi. Will this be a key card for Messi or not? I don't know, it will depend if the PSA 10 pop keeps increasing or not. For now, it's still fairly high comparing with other releases. Talking about our market, I understand the Jeff Wilson perspective, but our market is not as big as, for example, basketball, baseball, so a card with almost 100 copies in a PSA 10 for Messi not being a rookie, saying is rare, gets a bit tricky there, but in the long run, maybe he could be correct, and I actually tend to believe in this card. That said, I thought it was funny that a couple of PSA 10s end up selling in May 8. Not sure if this is an influence of his video or not, but I thought it was fun to share, and is a great card in general, and up becoming even a more important card for Messi since Messi ended up winning the World Cup with Argentina. Hey guys, quick pause on this one. Hope you are enjoying the video, but I want to share two things with you. The first is my Patreon community. If you love this type of videos, you probably love my content on Patreon. I put a new Q&A every week there, and I also put extra audio that you can call a podcast on Saturday. If you join Patreon right now, you have hours and hours and hours of content. It's actually quite crazy. Link below the video if you want to join. In this case, link on the description. The second thing is my Discord server. Amazing place to interact with me, amazing place to interact with other collectors, to learn about the soccer card market. We are more than 900 members and we are growing super fast. Link also below the video, check both, and now let's continue with this one. So, collect just the best. This is basically another topic that they end up bringing, and if you guys ask me this, the answer tends to be quite simple. Even though this is a complex topic, the answer collect just the best is very simple. No, collect the players you like first. But now, it's also valid to say that looking at other markets, the key cards / sets in TCGs, for example, in sports cards, the best players, they tend to have stronger markets and consequently being better investments, even though every case will be a case. I will die saying this, but cards are not the safest investment at all. There is no intrinsic value with them and the market is crazy speculative. If you guys want to make money, there is a lot of alternatives in the market that you can explore that probably will give you a better return and in a easier way. Not going very deep into that, at the end of the day I'm no financial advisor, but I can tell you one thing, cards are very, very speculative. What makes this market so great, so attractive to me, is the fact that I'm a collector first and I also love football. So for me it's basically a no-brainer. Believe it or not, my profile is not that common, I think, yet, but I hope in the future more people like me enter the market, and I hope you guys don't take this in the wrong way, but I think collectors is what our market needs, people that really enjoy collecting, no matter if they just collect one player, if they just collect one era, but that makes our market stronger. Now talking a bit about TCGs, because I think this can also be applied there. In TCGs / non-sports, but let's say TCGs, the lineage of the sets tends to be the most important factor, since there is no greatness related with the characters, even though even that can be debatable. But for example, in Magic, Alpha Edition, the first set is very important. In LoB, Legend of Blue Eyes, also first edition, tends to be very important, since it's the first American release, and in reality all the cards on those sets tend to grow a lot when the main cards tend to also get attention. For example, in Pokemon, when the Charizard gets a lot of hype, let's say with the Logan Paul craze, the other cards also end up following a similar trend, sometimes even increasing more than the Charizard, but I will talk about that in a second. In sports is a little bit different and I feel a bit more complex. Although the lineage of certain sets still plays a key role, I guess an example for this could be Flawless. Almost every Flawless card in soccer tends to be expensive is always relative, but tends to demand the premium, since the set is so important for our market, especially for the high-end side in modern, that almost, again, repeating myself, but almost any Flawless tends to be expensive. So lineage of the set is also quite important, but is not the key role in general. The importance of the player, the relevance of the player, the ones we tend to consider all-time greats, tends to be the crucial factor in my eyes. It's hard to disagree with what they end up saying on the video. If investing in the long term is your only goal, the four names end up sharing, I agree. Maradona, Pelé, Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. Although I also recognize incredible talent / quality in Mbappé and Haaland, I think the risk is still quite huge there. But the other four players are the GOATs that we all tend to agree, or at least a big part of the market shares a feeling about them being very important for their respective eras. This does not mean that these four players will be the ones that will grow the most in the next couple of years. They are simply safer, since their liquidity is strong as a result of the base collector being super solid. Being a more explored market, price history tends to also be more reliable. Let's say you started collecting Cristiano Ronaldo rookies, or even second year, or even first cards with Portugal, you have a lot of sales, so price history can actually help you quite a lot, making smart decisions long run. If you are exploring, let's say, a second year Platini ended up winning 3 times Ballon d'Or, by the way, but let's say even a rookie, the price history is not as reliable as, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Platini in terms of greatness is up there, but you guys get the point. Now, going back to almost what I say every video I make to YouTube, to Patreon. Complex topic, we need to push some debate into this type of stuff, have critical thinking, but let's take a look at a couple of examples. So let's start actually with Pokemon base set. I feel like even if you don't collect the Pokemon is so mainstream that you are probably aware of the base set first edition. You can see that Charizard in 2016 a PSA 9 was selling for 1.5k. Right now sells for 16k. amazing growth, of course. I mean, it's not 1,000, but is almost there. You can say, oh, but if you compare with 2021 prices, the PSA 9 is down. Well, that's actually true, but again, put things in perspective, try to look at the bigger picture, and I think Charizard is still doing very well. Is a key card in the entire card market, not only on the TCG space or the Pokemon space. But Charizard is a holographic card, is a rare card, so there is different rarities in TCGs. In Magic is exactly the same thing, so this is a rare that is also holographic, but the rarities is the same as the card next to Charizard, Alakazam, another Pokemon that tends to be quite important. This card in 2016, PSA 9 was selling for a bit over $200, right now sells for 1k. The growth is a bit over 200%, still quite amazing, but comparing with Charizard actually seems low. Let's be realistic. So looking at this example, and the rarity is exactly the same, you guys can tell me, Andre, actually look, the main character, the main card, the most important card in the set, and outperforming the other card, in this case Alakazam. That's true, but I have another example for you that I thought was quite fascinating. So take a look at Squirtle. Squirtle is actually a common, so it's very, very easy to find. In 2016, a PSA 9 was selling for 16 USD. Right now sells for almost $200. The growth, very similar to Charizard, but even a bit higher. So put all of this stuff in perspective, saying that the Charizard for sure will be the one that grew the most. Actually, Squirtle ended up growing a bit more in terms of percentage. Then you can say, but what market do you think is safer? I think it's Charizard. That said, again, repeating myself quite a lot on this topic, but perspective, trying to look at price history is very, very important. In soccer, things are even crazier if you ask me. So, why I'm saying this? Take a look at the Messi 7 on Bs, a card that we all tend to recognize, probably the most important card in our market, debatable with Pele Alifa, but one of the most important cards in our market. In 2015, a BGS 9.5 sold for 1.5k. Right now, that card sells for 33k. Again, similar to Charizard, is down comparing with all-time highs, but the growth of this card is over 2000%. And looking at this card, you can say, oh man, that's right, see, the key card ended up growing quite a lot. So let's take a look at the Messi Mundicromo that some people may even consider the less desirable rookie for Messi. I disagree with that, by the way. I think it's an amazing card. But that narrative, sometimes I see it going around even on my Discord. By the way, link below the video if you want to join. But in 2016, a BGS 9.5 for that Mundicromo, I actually believe is the one you are seeing on the screen, sold for 83 USD. I know, it's crazy. Right now, this card sells for 3.9k and is down from the peak. If you look in terms of growth, that's completely insane. Even more, actually quite more than the Messi 7 on Bs. And you guys think, oh, okay, so that's interesting. So actually, the alternative rookie end up outperforming the main rookie. Okay, but things can get even more crazy. I think we all agree that Messi is probably top 4, top 2, maybe top 1 for you. Xavi, even though one of the best midfielders ever, you can make a case top 20, top 30 all time. Again, gets very debatable when we go out of the top 5, top 10, but let's say top 50 all time. So a very important player for our market. This card, one of my favorite rookies for him, not the rarest one since the sticker is actually a bit more rare, the Panini sticker, but this is also difficult to find. So 98 Panini Football in 2016 in a grade PSA 8 sold for, let's say, $20. Right now, that card sells for more than 1k in a PSA 8. The growth completely destroys the Messi Mundicromo or the Messi 7 on Bs. Does this make that card more investable than the others? No. Basically, and look, things are not black or white in this type of topics. Is basically what I'm trying to say since I started sharing my opinion on this slideshow. The reality is, every case will be a case, every card will be a card. Now, not everything is perfect, and that's another thing to have in consideration. So I was talking about Platini a couple of minutes ago. I think Platini is one of the best players ever. This card, and by the way, Platini just have one rookie. Personally, I think Platini is a bit undervalued. I have 0 Platini, just to be totally transparent. But this card in 2016, a PSA 4, sold for a bit over $500. Right now, the card sells for, let's say, $700. You can say, okay, he's up. But 28% in 2006, this is not a great result, especially because in 2016 our market was, I would not say irrelevant, but not strong by any means comparing with what we have right now. So 28% almost sounds like a loss comparing with the other stuff and I'm showing to you. Now, an example that is actually down is, for example, 76 Saravan Campeonato Zico. In 2018, a PSA 1 sold for $200. Right now is 91 USD. This is down 54%. How crazy is that? Well, the reality is, and this is me making assumptions, I don't know for sure, but maybe at the time people thought this was a really difficult card to find. Even a PSA 1 should have a premium, and people are realizing that's not the case. I think in terms of greatness, Zico was an amazing player. I don't think he's in the same level as, for example, Platini, but again, put all of this type of stuff in perspective. Sometimes things does not go the way you want, and it is what it is. Let's move on to the next question. If you are watching this on the YouTube, hope you end up enjoying the video. Again, I end up sharing my opinion, I guess, but I also thought putting things in perspective, trying to push some critical think, leave comments on the video if you want, is the best we can do. So, question number 2.